What's up, hungry people? Today, we're embracing fall with these pumpkin spice double-layered cheesecake squares. Made with a ginger snap crust and topped with a crispy crunchy maple streusel, this tasty cheesecake will have you pulling on your flannels in anticipation of fall. The first step to the perfect pumpkin spice cheesecake is the ginger snap crust. Start with about 20 ginger snap cookies and some melted butter. Then use a food processor to blend the cookies into a fine, crumbly texture. If your cookies are too dry, you can add another tablespoon or two of melted butter until the crumblies stick together. Next, butter up a cake pan. You can also use a cooking oil spray, but I just so happened to not have any handy, so I ended up greasing the pan with butter instead. But either option works. Then, line the edges of the pan with parchment paper that has been trimmed to fit the pan. I did 2 long pieces down either end, then used a full sheet down the middle and pressed the parchment into all of the corners and along the bottom. You want the edges of the middle piece to be sticking out so you can lift the cheesecake from the pan at the end. Spread the processed ginger snap cookies along the bottom of the pan, and then use a flat-bottomed glass or jar to press the cookie crumbs into an even layer with no holes. Then bake the crust for about 5 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit and cool in the fridge while you prepare the cheesecake filling. To make the filling, combine room temperature cream cheese, room temperature sour cream, flour, vanilla, maple syrup, and a touch of sugar. It's important that all of the ingredients are room temperature so that when you start to mix everything together, you can avoid any lumps or bumps in the batter. Slowly stir the eggs in one at a time. Take care not to overmix the eggs. You want to add in the next egg as soon as the first one is completely incorporated. The cheesecake filling should be smooth in texture and pale in color. Transfer about 1/4 to half of the cheesecake filling into a smaller bowl. You don't want to do exactly half because you'll end up with too much pumpkin spice topping, and the layers of the cheesecake won't have an equal thickness. In the smaller bowl, add pure pureed pumpkin, brown sugar, cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice, and ground cloves. Use the hand mixer to completely stir together the pumpkin spice cheesecake filling until it is smooth and an even color. Pop the pumpkin cheesecake filling into the fridge for a few minutes while you start the cheesecake assembly. To get the cheesecake in perfect even layers, first pour the room temperature cheesecake filling onto the cooked and cooled crust. Spread it out into a smooth, even layer and then pop it into the freezer for 10 minutes to quickly set the layer. Be sure you don't freeze it for too long or that can affect the overall cook time. When the bottom layer is thick and barely firm across the top, pour in the pumpkin spice cheesecake filling. Once again, spread out the cheesecake filling to form an even layer. To bake the cheesecake, place a cake pan filled about halfway with water on the bottom rack of the oven. Then preheat the oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit, that's about 160 degrees Celsius, and bake the cheesecake for 1 hour. Do not open the oven, not even to peek. When the timer goes off, turn off the oven, but leave the cheesecake in for another hour to slowly cool. Once again, do not open the oven or else you will end up with a cracked cheesecake. Transfer the cheesecake to the fridge and chill for at least 24 hours to completely set the cheesecake. At this point, you can leave the cheesecake like this for up to 72 hours prior to making the streusel topping. And don't fret, if your cheesecake does crack, the topping will hide any imperfections. To make the topping, start by combining room temperature sour cream, room temperature cream cheese, a bit of sugar, vanilla, and maple syrup. Use a hand mixer to combine and then pour the topping over the cheesecake. You can see how my cheesecake sort of shrank a little bit along the edges. That's because I ended up chilling my cheesecake for a week before I put the topping on. Life gets busy, okay? If I hadn't waited so long, my cheesecake wouldn't have shrank so much. So, life lesson learned. Spread the topping out in an even layer and then, surprise, surprise, chill the cheesecake for another couple hours to properly set the topping. While you wait, prepare the final layer. Quick streusel. In a small bowl, combine quick cooking rolled oats, crushed ginger snap cookies, chopped pecans, brown sugar, flour, and melted butter. Stir it all together so that the butter coats everything and there are no large lumps of oats. Microwave the streusel topping in 30-second intervals, stopping to stir between every interval for about 90 seconds to about 2.5 minutes, until the butter is completely absorbed and the oats have cooked in the liquid butter. Let the topping cool completely so that it is room temperature, then pour the topping over the cheesecake. If the streusel is too warm, it will melt the cheesecake topping. Spread the streusel out into an even layer all the way to the edges. And for the final time, chill the cheesecake for another hour until the toppings are all set in place. Carefully remove the cheesecake from the pan by pulling it out by the parchment handles. Remove the parchment strips from the side. And then cut the cheesecake into even, shareable squares. This pumpkin spice cheesecake puts everything else that claims to be pumpkin spiced to shame. What's your favorite autumn food? Let me know down in the comments. I'm always open to recipe suggestions and challenges that I should take on next, so give me your ideas down below. If you like this recipe, don't forget to saute up a like, flip that sub button, and ring the dinner bell to be notified of my latest recipes and foodie adventures that I post every week. As always, you can find this recipe and many others with step-by-step instructions on thestarvingchefblog.com. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll talk to you soon.